All right, hello everybody, and welcome to another stream. Happy Sunday, or for some of you, what's left of it. Um, but yeah, happy to have you here. So without further ado, let's kind of get into some of the updates from the past week. I think the main one that I wanted to focus on is more on like the gameplay side of things, and let's jump into game mode here. And so I might have shown you this a little bit last week when it came to the UI for the device and a little bit of a fixes to it and how the kind of the crafting section of it works. And yeah, just let's take a look at actual crafting and a few of the improvements. Hey, DK Hands, welcome, hello. Okay, so let's actually and you'll probably see on the side there's like some like debugging messages and of course that's not going to be part of the game. Yeah, so let's kind of search through some of these trash cans and pick up a few things. All right, so let's search away. All right, so we got some scraps from that. And okay, so now I can like let's open this and I have it on the uh, physical device at the moment. Just I like it better. I don't have a mission at the moment, so that's why that thing is empty, and I also haven't cleared the saved games. But getting into the craft section of it is just pressing B, so it jumps into crafting, and you can use your mouse wheel to like scroll through what you can craft. So you can see like you can craft an arrow. It tells you how many you need. So three scraps, and you got available 13. Um, I'm still debating on, I think I'm just gonna keep it like this kind of requirements and the count. Maybe I'll flip it around like I'm not sure if it might look better to say three scraps and two scraps and one electronics. And then the other one would be like a fuse at the moment. So I'm still kind of looking at I'm still gonna try, maybe I'm gonna try and like change the selection so it's actually just adds that green or red and not have it, one be not be the other type of thing, because right now, like even myself, I'm still, which one do I have selected? So you can see it that it's kind of like the red that's moving in a way, but um, so when you want to craft, you just hit like the middle mouse button and then there's your thing, so you can like pick it up. So you can like keep on crafting and you run out of course, the items in your inventory. And once you can't craft anymore, you should get a message at the bottom saying, I don't have enough to craft this. So then you can like, pick these items up. Um, and then like for this other type of thing where that's one of the things that kind of racked my brain this week is since it's kind of the same system for all the items they craft, I also wanted to uh, the fuse would require like two types of items, right? So it's not just, okay, I'm gonna find scraps and I can craft everything. So like the fuse requires two scraps and one electronics. So unfortunately, I kind of went through and used all the scraps. So even if I like try to select the fuse, you still don't have enough items. And I don't think I've added anything to this one either. So let me see if I can. Okay, guy, let me be. Go away. He's still there. Oh my God, he's persistent. All right, just go back to your daily routine. All right, so then I might have shown this in the past where you kind of like these are just like tap interactions for some of these bigger boxes. I don't think I've added anything in this one. Okay, so that's empty. So let's take a look at how crafting an item that requires or yeah, crafting an item that requires multiple items. That's a way to say that. So yeah, let's kind of search through some of this stuff. Oh yeah, and if you have this equipped at the same time, this should be updated. So when you search through it, you got three. So let's also, I think this one has the electronics. So pick up the electronics. So when you select the fuse, you'll be able to, spawn this one. And unfortunately, that one requires quite a bit, so um, you just run out of them. Yeah, so that was kind of the main thing from a gameplay aspect that I wanted to take care of. And of course, once you change this to use the HUD, this should look pretty much the same. Still working a little bit on that material for the background, so that it kind of looks, it's not so bright. I think it's not bright, but like it's got like a little bit of an emissive value on it. So I think it looks a little too strong, but yeah. So this is, I'm just hitting B at the moment to switch be between like the quest side of the UI um, to the crafting side of the UI, and this can stay up at all times, so I can like craft this on the move, so to speak, if I need to. Yeah. So that is, I just wanted to go over that as well. So let's go into kind of the main world and take a look at a little bit of the changes there. I've kind of worked a little bit on some lighting changes, some kind of ground scatter changes, and kind of like the assets that I haven't shown recently too much of the natural areas around the town. I think we were focusing more around the town area, so I'm going to show a little bit of that, and um, and then maybe we'll end the stream with a little bit of, I think I mentioned last week that I was hoping to do some work on that, where that kind of soccer field in the middle of those houses would be. So we might end with doing some of that. All right, yeah. So let's see. While this thing loads, and also I had somebody ask me in from a post that I had on Twitter as to how is this one set up. Like the the ground scatter, the procedural vegetation, how that is placed. Uh, so uh, so I can Josh, if you're watching, I can um, show you a little bit of this. And okay, there we go. Kind of focused away from this, and all right. So let me hide this other. I was actually playing around with, like you've seen in the past, I was playing around with a couple of the, lighting scenarios, like one being something this little sky that I had for a while, and the other one just something that's a little bit more straight, not straightforward, but kind of not contained within a blueprint. Is just a pretty more minimal setup as far as that goes. But we're just gonna stick with the regular kind of daytime setting. So yeah, Josh had asked me on that Twitter post as to how is this, how is my, um, my what do I do about the vegetation setup in my project? So I have a combination of procedural foliage volumes. So for example, um, in my case, I have four of them set up. So one for you see like one of them is called a small area, one is called a big area. So the foliage tree for the small area encompasses all the kind of the navigatable zones in the game, which is this about maybe a little bit over 2 by 2 kilometers. And then this big area being the one that's going to be like on these cliff sides, and that are really far away, and it's probably going to be like imposter trees or like billboards, just to kind of to have as little overdraw as possible. And and I'm seeing like a little bit of a hiccup here with one of my materials. I'll probably need to address that. So yeah, and also the rocks and the logs. So those are also contained within these procedural foliage volumes. I am not using the PCG tool at the moment. I've tried looking at it, but it just felt a little bit too complicated. So didn't have the time to spend to look at it. But yeah, so all of these, especially depending on what they are, like the trees themselves are only going to spawn. Um, they're all set up to spawn on specific landscape layers. So in my landscape material, whenever you paint, you have all these layers, and uh, that's how this is set up. Like in the procedural foliage volume, you can set up, um, if anybody is interested. I actually have a tutorial video on like creating a forest following the exact same system that I'm doing here. So in one of those procedural foliage spawners, like literally I have just 3 trees, not too many, but each one of those has a set of inclusion and exclusion layers. Most of them I only have like an inclusion, so this is for the forest. But for something that is spawned on like multiples, let's take a look at the logs. I think with the logs, I have a few of them that spawn on multiple layers, or don't spawn on certain layers. Let me see exactly which one it is. So that one it's only in the forest. Let's see, maybe one of the stumps. Nope. Let's see the other one. Where did I have it? But like I had multiple inclusion layers, so it's like spawns on the forest and also on the grass, for example. Yeah, my bad. I thought I was gonna show you. It's just a simple array. You can add another one to it. So my bad that I'm not able to find one at the moment. So that is when it comes to spawning the procedural items, right? So that way I can spawn trees only where I want to have a forest, right? And also logs and but then there's also like the ground scatter, you know, and the stuff that the player is not going to collide with, and like grasses, ferns, these little twigs, these little bushes, so I was playing a while back, Far Cry 5. Even like small sized trees, they didn't have collisions enabled on them. So I was like, oh, that so that's fine. So trees like this, this one doesn't have collision on it. So you can literally run through, you can see like it has a trunk, right? So you can run through it. So this one doesn't have collision. So everything that is a landscape grass does not have collision. And that those are usually set up, uh, as I just said, through landscape grasses. So in your material for your landscape, and by the way, I'm using the material from Brushify. So Brushify, I think this particular package was free for the month many months ago. So so I made use of it. I went about it. I took a bunch of the material functions in here, but that's aside the point. It already comes really nice out of the box. So you have a grass node, and each one of these has like a variety of these. Um, I can't remember the name of it. Let me see. It has a particular name for this class, a landscape grass type. So in each one of these, you can set up a bunch of these grass items, more basic setup than your procedural foliage tool, but this is all you need. Like an ability to add a bunch of items, set their density, have them, set different size or different scale to it. Whether it aligns to surface, random rotation, affecting distance field lighting, and then it's it's all a matter of finding a good balance that works for you. And that's what I did. Um, and that's this is what I ended up with. I mean, in the end, I'm quite okay with quite happy with the turnout of the density between like the trees, um, kind of the types of trees, all three of them. Then um, the the kind of the logs going around here. Then I have literally two rocks that cover the land, which is this kind of flat rock, and then these types of like scatter, which apparently the shader got busted somehow. I don't really understand how that happened, but um, and then um, and then that's it. I mean, I'm actually trying to keep things pretty basic. Um, so all in all, I think might have like a dozen um, natural items that are all procedurally placed. And so it all comes down to where you paint your terrain layers. And and yeah, so I hope I hope Josh, if you're watching this, this might give you a little bit of insight into that and what went into what I was doing here. So yeah, let me close these tabs here. Okay. And oh, one other thing that I wish I would have done some streaming on, but I didn't get around to doing it. It was just a little bit late. But I was working on this little other area down here, which is a little bit of a hideout for some of the guys that have escaped the town. So you'll be able to meet some people over here. Um, and yeah, so I've tried to like kind of dress up this little cave entrance and playing around with it for a little bit. So maybe I'll you know um, maybe we'll work on this area at some point as well. I'll maybe just do an impromptu stream without really announcing it or nothing. Um, but yeah, so that's kind of the update for this week. And like I said, when it comes to the rocks, I used to have like a big number of different rocks that were done via that procedural foliage tool. But then I decided, like it doesn't seem to me that just didn't seem natural, like so especially around where I live, and it's kind of like northern hemisphere type of. That's why I kind of went with the conifer type of setup. Plus, it's kind of like the one tree that I really like for whatever reason. So most that I've seen around where I live, it's kind of this big kind of I wouldn't call it slate, but like quarry type of rock, and then a lot of these scatter rocks. Not that the broken shader, but that's kind of what I've seen around here. So I decided to go with this one. I was able to reduce kind of the memory usage as well because I don't have like, five different rocks with their own scanned textures. I only have two with only the detail texture, to give like the normal detail. So that really helped. Um, let's see. Yeah, so you kind of get these types of formations, around here where there's like kind of like a big, I think maybe the tiling on this material might be a little too big, but and whenever they kind of join together, they kind of form like this uh little big slate of rock type of thing. And there's some of these scatter ones around it. And actually, let me fix that real quick because it's kind of bugging me at the moment. So bear with me for a little bit while I do that. And yeah, so you can see like for my rocks, I only have two. And this is this kind of cluster, which I am not entirely sure why it's not working. I wonder if it's due to the fact that it's kind of blending with the RVT as well. There it is. Okay. Something about the RVT that's the runtime virtual textures that is kind of causing an issue with it. There we go. I think I might just need it to recompile. So, that's pretty much like all I have for the rocks. Like, see around here, like I didn't need like a bunch of like these kind of spiky rocks here and there and everywhere. I think they can get repetitive a little bit easier than these ones. So especially when you're at ground level, this is this is what you see. You see a break in the shape or the roundness of the terrain, and to me, I think that that works a little bit better. And plus, I only have two rocks that I need to manage or to deal with. And then, the big kind of cliff type of rocks, like these ones, these are hand placed. You can't really place these procedurally, at least not to my knowledge. Um, yeah, so see like these ones over here, I'd have to place these by hand. Especially when there's like a little bit of a, if I was to hide this, especially when there's like a little bit of like a little bit of a hill or an incline, just placing this one against the side. Oops, and I've unhidden this sky blueprint. Yeah, so having some of those, like around here, for example, this could be another example of a small area that I was putting these in. So this is like one slab of like this granite piece. Oh yeah, the other thing was kind of getting some of these like side roads worked out, and I feel like I finally managed to do something. Uh, and this is done via the material, where I have and actually let me sculpt this real quick because I think I might have moved them around a little bit. So let me do this like that and selected segments. There we go. So it was kind of floating in the air a little bit. And yeah, with the runtime virtual texture, you can see like it blends in pretty well with the road. And so yeah, over here, the transition between the two roads, I'm just gonna manage it with like some decals and so on. I think we were doing this in a previous video as well. But yeah, this is kind of how it looks. The road itself just literally has a mask with the centerpiece, the where the track pieces would be, that takes in a different texture. So that way you can still have the same texture that the dirt for the landscape uses, and yeah, a little bit of a different one in the middle. And plus, it's got like a little bit of a wavy thing going for it, so it's not just completely flat. I guess now looking at it, I could have worked it with like a flat thing, but it wouldn't, I don't know if it would have had like the blending done like this one, where you have like the mesh. I mean, if you look real close, you can tell where the mesh is, but you're not going to be able to get that kind of close to it. Okay, so yeah, I was gonna show you like another, yeah, for example, so this is another example of a little bit of an area where I feel like these big rocks kind of break up the surface a little bit, like this one over here on that side. Um, let's see, like over here in this clearing, it kind of looks, especially like when they're spawned like this, so they're kind of overlapping each other to some extent. It doesn't look like it's just one or it's the same mesh, so I feel like that works out for me. Yeah, so let's see if there's any other areas in the forest that Yeah, see like over here where there's this like little access road for that for one of the antennas, so I feel like this one well, of course, there's not going to be like these big kind of boulders, but this is a good example for like a flat, non-forested area where some of these big type of slab rock. I'm not sure. I think you would call them like a slab rock. I don't really know what the name for these type of like just kind of flat rocks would be. But yeah, so see like this would be another example where, once they are kind of joined together, they seem like it's a different mesh, right? Even if there's probably like I think two or three in this little cluster. So yeah, there we go. Um, Also, from a performance standpoint, you probably see this like at about 30, 40 frames per second right now. Earlier today and yesterday, like before streaming, I was getting about 50-ish plus. So yeah, you can take this with a grain of salt when it comes to doing this in the streaming. And also that was on full screen. And so I'm hoping to build it again this week and test it out at that point as well. All right. So I was thinking that we'd work on this area over here and try and get this this kind of like the sidewalk constructed around this soccer field, the road, maybe place some cars, like some fencing with some bushes around the soccer field and so on. So yeah, let's get to it. All right, let's see. What do I want to start with? It's one thing I never really understood. Why would the shaders? I'm not sure if it's just a mask shader or something, but you have to like reopen it when it looks like it's just not compiling. I don't really know why that happens. Yeah, okay. So let's see if we can join all these pieces together and let's see how we can get that done and what are we gonna end up with. So first I was kind of trying to measure what would be the size of like one of those small soccer fields, nothing um, out of the ordinary, nothing fancy. But so I kind of came with this scale for this. So we'll see how that works once we start sculpting around the sidewalk, add the fencing, and we might have to make this maybe a tiny bit smaller. But yeah, let's kind of create this. And this I want it to be it as a kind of a courtyard where some of the NPCs would gather and you would be able to interact with them. So like I said, I'm just gonna try and create the outer edge of this. And one thing I forgot is that I wanted to turn on snapping here. So just to place things on the grid. All right. And luckily, accidentally, I'm not sure what to call it, but this one ended right on the corner of this. So we're still going to have to be pushed out a little bit, but yeah, that's funny. It's kind of good because having all of uh, these pieces, I'm going to be able to, using the grid, kind of place them on this other side of the soccer field and hopefully get them to meet here where like a corner piece would go. So let me try and place a corner in here. If I can find that. I can find it if I just look look it up over here. So this is exactly what I was meaning to do here. And then this guy. So this is what I meant, that this one might need to be a little bit kind of maybe adjust a little bit. I mean, I'm not going to use this, but just as a reference. All right, so I'm just trying to make these meet in that corner best I can. There we go. I think that might work. All right, so okay, so that looks good on that corner. Let's actually use this over here as well. Yeah, so I think DK Jens, I noticed your comment maybe on a previous video about not using PCG, and hopefully my earlier answer or my earlier reply answers that question. It's just it comes down to time, and sometimes that's the one thing you don't have enough of. Like the time um, to learn that the PCG system and understand it, and in a way that uh, would actually be productive, especially for like vegetation like this. And one thing that I've seen other people comment on it is that it's not it can be not the best for this type of usage, when it comes to vegetation and spawning vegetation. But then again, I haven't used it to that extent or tried it out, so this is just what I've been kind of reading on other people, you know, what other people say about PCG. All right, so I think at this point we should be able to, well, actually, once I move everything over to this end, let's see about this. Just gonna keep that as a group for now. And that one is almost on point there. So let's see, do I want to scale this back a little bit? I think that will be fine if I just scale this a little bit down a little bit like that. There we go. And the same thing could work for this one over here. Let me regroup this. I mean, this is a good scaling. I think that it's not gonna, um, stretch this out or, compress the look of it too much. Okay, I think that should work. All right, so I'm gonna do a little bit of flattening of this terrain just to somewhere around where the edge of this sidewalk is at. And actually, I'm gonna need to sculpt it up a little bit. I think that should be a good point. So let's flatten that out. Oh yeah, the field is gonna disappear for a little bit. It's not straight anyways. It's a great reference asset. So if anybody's interested in it, it's literally on 8th and Diamond Philly plate. I think it's what it's called. Oh, actually, no, that's the address maybe where I got it from. So there we go. Let's actually sculpt it on this side as well, so we can kind of guide ourselves where some of the edging of the street is going to be. So on this corner. All right, so I'm gonna do a little bit of painting just to, once I resimulate, remove some of this vegetation, so I can add it by hand after that. There we go. And then we have the terrain here. Let's just lift it up a little bit. And just so that I'm gonna flatten it down. Again, just to keep it as a reference, but hopefully it'll work a little bit, it'd be a little bit flatter so it'd work with the terrain and like the edges of the terrain. See, like right there, maybe a little too high, but like I said, we're gonna do some, we're gonna sculpt the terrain a little bit. Yeah, we'll just leave that there for now. Okay, so we got all the little sidewalk around the terrain. Let's add some of the fencing around it, and maybe not the barbed wire type of thing. This is just that was this town zones um, barbed wire separation. So we'll just do a little bit of a less threatening looking fence. Let me see if I can find one in here. For whatever reason, the previews are not showing up properly. I'm not sure why. So just a second here, guys. Yeah, so this is kind of the barbed wire fence, which is just a modular mesh. Like I said, for whatever reason in this folder, like I am not seeing the previews for all the meshes, and I'm starting to think that it might be because of the materials not being done perfectly on them. So, but I think I might have found like a little bit of a fence here. So let's try and add that in, see how that would work. I think that is gonna work. All right, let's place these around the side of the terrain. And not under the terrain, but on the side of it. I think about to there. And yeah, you can see like this one has the materials a little bit broken. So I think I might just need to reload it, or do I have the I don't think I had the material overrides for this. Yeah, I don't have a material override. So then why is this one having trouble with the material? One of them works because it's got like this mask thing to it, but I'm not sure about the other one. I'll have to look at that. All right, so then we're gonna have the corners and of course some entrances to the terrain, like on one side or another, maybe on both sides. Okay, so let's see. How do we want to do this? So we got the spline overlapping. Let's try and see if this one, maybe I'll just start from scratch. So um, let me first, I wanted to make sure that I'm in the right zone here. So make this current folder. So whenever I add something, it gets placed into that by default. All right, so let's do a IA scatter spline here. And then for the mesh, I want this piece of fence. And then a lot less instances, because it's just going to be, like I said, one section here, then it's going to have a gate where you're going to be able to enter and interact with some of the people hanging out here. Um, so let's see, let's take a look at, we're going to have a fixed distance. This is going to be on the spline. So it follows the spline, which I'm just gonna keep it at 2 points. So it's a straight spline. And make this a little bigger. And then, so it's at a fixed distance. I think I had that at 275. I can't remember what the size of this item was. But then let's also make the rotation to be, I can't remember if we were able to work it out with the Z instance. No, I think I'm just gonna need to none and Z. No, I'm just gonna have to force it in at 90. So we have them all at 90. Then the next one is gonna be the scale. So they're all gonna be at 1. And we don't want any, we all want them to be the same scale. By the way, this is an awesome tool. I still have just an older version of it. So I'm sure there's been like a lot of other improvements done to it. All right, and then we want the spread, kind of everything that it kind of goes to the side to be 0. Um, let's see, why is that one all the way back there? Spline omnidirectional, or is it spline down? Okay, so we actually wanted spline down, not omnidirectional. And I think there might be a little bit too many instances. So I'm gonna stretch this out a little bit further. So there we go. And I guess it was less than 270. Where was that? 275? Was it 270? 260? There we go. That's better. Okay. So that one's at 260 like that. I think it might be enough for one side of the terrain. And I'm wondering if I should have it a little bit closer to the sidewalk. We're gonna do some sculpting anyway, so the terrain might come up through it a little bit. So we'll see how that ends up. And then let's bring this over to, just gonna delete these pieces since we're not using them here. So this side is gonna be over here again. Luckily, hopefully if I'm still on the grid, this should kind of, I should be able to place it right alongside this one here. Yeah, that's actually pretty good. But I need the same kind of a fence as this to be that corner. Hopefully I have it. If I don't, just gonna use two pieces, but I think I have it. So let's use it here, and I just need to quickly set up the material. And it's also better that it only has like 2 material slots. So hoping for a little bit less in draw calls. So we got the mesh. Oops, where was I here? And there we go. We have the corner of this. There's that. I think this one might have not been on the grid as well as the other one. So let me try and see if I can fix this. There we go. Okay. So see, that's what the grid gives you, but it's still out a little bit. See if we can make these match. Yeah, that's better. There we go. Okay. So let's try and place that there. Oh, interestingly enough, this mesh seems a little bit taller than the rest. Did I scale it up? Oh, I did scale it up. All right, so let's do one and one. That would explain why it was that kind of difference in size. And also, it wasn't like, it was matching, but I'm guessing it should be on a smaller grid. Let's move it to 5. Okay, I think that that would work. All right, so I wanted to try out. Let's actually place this one just to extend this corner out, and I wanted to try out and see what we can do with scale sculpting the terrain around this, and seeing how we can add, a little bit of that kind of overgrown, slightly overgrown like grass and stuff coming through it. See if we can get this one to be like that. There we go. Okay, so my plan was, when sculpting the terrain, let's actually make this smaller. So let's sculpt this out. We'll see how high we can get away with this, because there's also like this, I might remove the runtime virtual texture for this. So let's try and flatten this out around these edges. Oof, that went a little too far. can we get? Maybe to here? Not sure why it's... Oh, it's the resolution of the terrain. That's what it is, I think. So what I was hoping to do is, something like this. So you got some of that grass coming, or like that dirt coming through, and then you paint a little bit of this grass, and it's got that kind of overgrown thing going on the on where the fence is, and on that you can also add like a little bit of ivy, growing through the fence. Maybe make sure these are in the right, they're in the right zone, so that's good. Whoops, I'm moving a little too quick. Sorry, guys. Oops. Let's see. I think I just wanted to go to 90. So you can get some of this kind of ivy placed on these corners, or maybe alongside the fence here and there. But yeah, this was my plan for this. And now I just need to find like the right height for the terrain to go all the way around, and also kind of have it, you know, blend in with the sidewalk as best as we can. So let's see about that. And yeah, you still see this here. I haven't gotten around to what I was mentioning last week is to use the virtual textures for some of these big, highly detailed assets, like cars, like things they get up close and really close to it. And but I didn't get around to do that. So when I do, I'll report back to tell you if this count is. I think it should be affected by it. I've seen that being affected by it when I did it for my entire project. The only problem with that was, oh, I thought that one was, it's kind of floating in the air. What's going on there? So unfortunately, what that does, it also adds a whole lot of instruction to the materials. So what I was gaining in the texture usage, I was losing quite big on the performance side due to that extra shader complexity. So I'm gonna try and like kind of be a little bit more selective with it. All right, so I'm gonna try and get the target maybe here. Oh, that's better. Okay, I think that's better. It's a little bit flatter, and yeah, there we go. So I might keep it at this height for now. I'm gonna try um, and see. Let's actually give it a quick try to see if I actually this one does have uh, RVT turned on, but it's on a very small distance. So let me see if I increase that. Oh, there we go. Okay, so that's better. That gives it a much better transition um, onto that onto that sidewalk. So, and of course, you can like tweak the distance even further, but that's not not where I want it to be. I still want the sidewalk to be seen, the concrete surface. And like if I tweak the blend amount, yeah, I just want to maybe the blend amount keep it around 1. And yeah, there's like some areas here where you can see sometimes that they seem a little bit faded, but I'll take that loss if needed. All right. Well, let's continue sculpting the terrain all around, and then we'll come back to the fence placement. Because at least right now I'm at a place where I was able to get the right um, the right height of where to flatten this. So I think that works. Let me see if I can like bump it up a little bit higher, not by much, but maybe increase this a little bit more so we can get this done a little quicker. I'm gonna try and kind of do it a little bit inside the terrain a little bit. And afterwards, I'm gonna see if I can, because right now it's like, oh my God, this everywhere it was like this in this town. So let's see if I can, in some places, maybe reduce it a little bit. There we go. And then um, bump it up more from like the inside. Okay. So see, like this is what I wanted to get to, like these some of these points here where you can still see the edge of the sidewalk. Maybe some areas where the grass kind of overtook it a little bit more. Let's see how we can get these squares to, there we go, behave a little bit. And in the end, the terrain will be, just the red, the not the red, but the grass color, but with some decals applied to them. So we'll see how that's going to turn out. Okay, there we go. So now let's do some, actually, we're still in the right menu. Let's paint some of this grass. Oh yeah, and one thing, Josh, if you're still watching this, so one thing to keep in mind is keep a good control on your density because that can really kill performance. And um, without necessarily like a lot of visual, uh, improvements or, oh, I think I might have gone too far. But yeah, it's gonna increase your overdraw by a ton if you're not kind of mindful to that. All right, so let's sculpt the rest of this area. I'm gonna bump this up, or let's see, what do we want to do with this? I'm gonna keep it around just so that I know where to place the the kind of the outline of the soccer field. But yeah, let's do a little bit more sculpting. Actually, let's just try and paint some more grass and see how well this works when I try to remove it. So I'm going to paint this entire field like this first. I can't really tell, but we'll find out once I, move this out of the way. All right, so Let's hide this, or yeah, I think we can hide it for now. Yeah, so there we go. We have the grass, but now let's see if we can remove it. So remove procedural stuff. So this, in theory, should remove the grass. And there we go. I got some of this grass removed. What I'm gonna do is, so we got the layer painted. With grass, but by using this additional layer, I can remove that procedural foliage. So I still get the grass, but there is no um, landscape grass on it. So let's remove some of that. Maybe we can paint a little bit of mud here and there, and for that, I'm just gonna try and use um, like an alpha texture. So let's see if how that would work. So we want to paint with, it should have let's see, did I select? Oh no, that was just the remover. So I wanted to select the layer. So this is, kind of blending in a little bit more so it's not all this just the same kind of repeating texture across, even though it doesn't look too much, but some areas of dried grass on that soccer field. So something like that. And now since I've brought this level up, let's flatten it out and kind of to the same to this level. So I'm gonna put it right there and make this a little bit bigger. Okay. And maybe what I'll do is I'm gonna bring this shed inside the court and then make it a tiny bit smaller. Oops, this part here looks like it floods every time it rains. There we go. Okay, that's a little bit better. So now that looks it's starting to look like a soccer field or a sports field. Um, and what I wanted to try is I wanted to see if I can add like these parking divider decals. uh, I'm probably going to look into creating some some different option for that, but this kind of road marking type of thing to to set the outline of the terrain. And actually, those are pretty big, so maybe we're not gonna need that many. But let's go ahead and I need to hide that out. Just gonna delete this for now. But I'm gonna try and scale this up first. So we'll see kind of where it, like between what areas it would be at. So maybe around here that could work. Now I'm just gonna try and grab these and place them around where the markings for the soccer field would be at. So I guess if we have three here, I'm trying to be mindful of using too many decals, but actually I think I can stretch these quite a bit like that without it looking too stretched out. Oh, one thing that I forgot, and I think there might be enough space. I might need to make it a tad bit smaller. Just because of the goal key or the goal, that would be kind of at this line, so this would be where the goal post would be at. So, okay, I think this could work. See if I need to make them a little bit thinner once I have them in place. Like I said, I'm just using that Sketchfab assets as a reference. All right, so this one might look a little bit. It's pretty small, so maybe it's not gonna look that stretched out. Oh, and I wanted to let's see if I can place these in their own little folder. So create new folder. This is gonna be soccer field markings. So that way, whenever I place something, I can just place it in here. And make current folder. Okay, so these ones are there. Let's make the ones that go on the back side here. And I might as well make them a little thinner. I think they were a little bit too wide, some of them. There's that and that. Well, okay, so we got almost one end of the field done, just with decals. Let's try and get the other ones in, or like the other end, is what I meant. I'm so curious to see how this looks once I remove the actual mesh. All right, so there's that. So I'm gonna use these ones in the back here to place them at the middle of the field, and then on the side. Again, it might not be perfect, but we'll try and get it as close as we can. And that is kind of interesting why. Oh, I might have moved those off a little bit. Yeah, these are not lined up, seems. let's try and adjust that. I try to follow the I've tried to follow the mesh reference, but the mesh itself is probably pretty skewed, so it's not quite exact or like very straight. All right, so let's try and get it so that it lines up with this. Okay, that's good. I think it might be better on these sides. Like, I feel like these line up to some extent. Um, I'll try and see if I can get like a straight mesh to line those up. But let's also do this end over here, or this side. Let's see how well these can line up. Oh, and look at that. That's better. Okay, so I think we should be able to delete this now. Oh, come on, it's part of a group. What else is in this group? All right, yeah, there we go. I mean, yeah, there's like this really big dent in the middle of it, but let's kind of flatten that out. And so, yeah, there we go. We have a soccer field. And now let's finish the adding, with some of this fencing around it. And I kind of like the scale of it as well. I guess it could be, I think we went over to one side a little too much. So let's try and move it off a little bit. So let's try and kind of scooch it over this way. Okay, that's good. And over on this side as well, there's a little bit of a dip in the terrain over here. There we go. So we'll do the same thing here. We'll move this over to this side. And this at this end, we might need just a few, like just one less. I think actually one more, so that way we can also place the corner. The corner is gonna go, let's see, where's now it's kind of looking where the sidewalk ends. Maybe about there. And we'll try and mend this somehow, since, we don't always get the the right size of things. Um, I mean, this could be a gate here, a little small gate. Let's see if what I can find. Angle. That might not work. Yeah, maybe I'll have to come back to that and see what I want to do. My thought was to just, if it doesn't work with a gate, then a little bit of a piece of fencing should do the trick. Like some kind of old little piece of fencing here. Like we ran out of materials, guys, so we're gonna, kind of cheap it out a little bit. Let's see, do I want to do that or something like this? Try and make it the same size and also extend it out a little bit. I think that can also work well to break out the fence kind of repetitiveness in a way, if you want to think of it. So there we go, kind of like a hole that was there. It might have gotten fixed. All right, so I'm gonna try and bring a little bit of this weird looking thing that has that thing floating up in the air. So I'll try and use something else. Of this ivy type of stuff. There it is. All right, we'll just add a few kind of grown up alongside this fence as well. Didn't get around to sculpting the terrain over here. But we'll have something like this on the bottom. Scale it up a little bit. Like that. And let's see, once we sculpt the terrain, maybe we can get some of that grass as well. There we go, kind of like that. Yeah, okay. So let's put this one on this other side. Actually didn't measure how far away it was from that corner, but we'll try and meet it here. We can always adjust the markings just to have them a little bit more centered. And then this one, let's see if we can slowly inch it into place. There. Okay, so that's good. I'm gonna try and put a gate, at least as a placeholder for now. I might have to make the gate myself. Like I said, not all the packages out there are have everything you need. So let's see, what do we want to do here? So this one ends where it's supposed to over there with the corner. And before we, let me use these, putting these like straight pieces on this other end as well, right next to this little hut, or not hut, but this little um, shed. And this would be where our gate is. Let's get this corner in here. And I hope they would match, because they were kind of like moved between that end to this end. So my hope is that it's just gonna snap into place where it's supposed to be. So that right there is almost a corner. And then this one. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna overlap them a little bit, you know, just kind of like that, a little bit of a defect in in the building planning when the fence was put in place. Okay, so that works. This would be like our gate on that side. Got a little bit of a kind of sports shed equipment storage. To search through type of location. This one would go there. It might not. Oh yeah, because we had that gap, so it might not meet perfectly. So we'll probably try and do the same thing that we did on that end with the little, trying to fake that out a little bit, or actually just use maybe this time a piece of this metal fencing. Hey, Home Games, welcome, welcome. How's it going? All right. Oh, the more I fly around, the more I've seen like some dips here where that I've been missing when I did the sculpting for this soccer field. So let me see if I can remove some of that. There we go. Yeah, so you can see how like painting, even though I painted that mud layer, but having a lower strength to that, kind of just um, remove a lot of the color out of that green grass. So yeah, just a little bit in the middle where, I guess people would run. So yeah, let's kind of fix this flatten terrain over here. So the reason I'm thinking of it as a mini soccer field is, kind of comparing it to the scale of this little 6 foot guy here. I think that would be, yeah, it's not a full size, but it's kind of like a mini soccer field. A 7v7, 5v7 type of soccer field. Okay, yeah, so let's get this one on this side as well. We'll see where this one ends up. gonna keep that there and then maybe make this one a little bit shorter, like that. And then this piece, let's kind of overlap it with this, maybe on the outside like so. And I'll just add another one of those pieces right on the end of it. So right here. And it overlaps out with it outside, or I think it could be outside. Let's do it that way. Like that. And now if we also put in a couple of these like ivy, pieces of ivy around it. It should blend in pretty nicely, I think. And, also, make that not so obvious. Not that it couldn't happen, but yeah, there we go. And we'll paint a little bit more of the grass on these edges. Where it meets with and it's mostly just to also remove this contact point, right, between the dirt and the sidewalk. Right, so let's do a little bit of painting a little bit of this mud out here. So this is what I meant when I said with painting it with a stencil. I believe this is the stencil or the alpha brush. It kind of removes and breaks up that grass surface. So yeah, there we go. I mean, we have a kind of a center area for this zone in town. Yeah, there we go. So, my idea is that, some of the NPCs would be hanging around back here on one of the corners, and you'd have to interact with them to get your next mission. All right, well, let's add maybe some benches and some of those there. I'm gonna keep this. This is like an address in Philly that I was looking for these kind of row houses, line up type of placement. And actually, since we're here, I'm actually gonna duplicate these and place them just so that they're in positioned like around the soccer field. So there's gonna be a couple of some streets in and out, like this being here, this one over here, this one loops around the soccer field. There's going to be like a back road coming into on this side behind the buildings, and over here that links into the main road. That's from like the urbanism side of things. All right, and also a couple of things. Let me see how it would work if we had like I am not sure about this, but let's give it a try. Like one or two trees in the corners or on the side. I'm not sure if that would work, like to have a tree on this corner here. Let's try that out, see how that might look. Let's see, what is it? PF underscore that. And I just wanted to make sure that I used the same tree that I'm using in the world. So, something like that, I'm thinking. I don't know, it kind of looks odd just being in that corner. Yeah, I'll leave it be. But what I will add is a couple of bushes along the fence. So, yeah, let's see if we can place some of those. So these could do pretty well. I think just to also I don't have to use ivy every single place, and instead of that tree I was thinking of using. So like behind this shed, that would be a perfect use for it. And maybe on the side of it. I think right there should be enough. Yeah, I'm quite okay with that. And maybe we'll put a couple of them on this side of the field. Maybe right behind the goalpost or in the goalpost. So one right there. Let's try and also just like get them in the corners like that. Oh yeah, that's pretty good. So that's on that side. What could work, maybe not in the corners, but on the sides. It could be like one of those not projector lights, but like a light pole type of a thing. And I need to figure out. I'm running at a in a point to a point that I got so many of these that I've created that I need to remember which one was it. Yeah, so I think this could work better than definitely better than that than that tree. So of course these are gonna also have that the electrical wires between them, and let's see, can we connect that into this one? Let's turn off the dynamic link. See if we can link these two. There we go. this one might be linked off of that main side there. There we go, just like that. Cool. Okay, so we got something on that side that is kind of the taller asset. And yeah, I'm really missing a goalpost, which is one thing that I'm probably going to rely on Sketchfab for. There's plenty of awesome assets on Sketchfab. Let's see if we can find a goalpost. Um, let's see, where is it? Sure, there's gotta be like a mock-up of something simple that we can we would only need to do some use it as a placeholder for now. And I actually think I might have found something. So bear with me for just 1 minute while I get this in. Because probably what I'm going to end up doing is actually just use you know, these the fence post meshes and you know, tweak them to be the goalpost. But I think I got the goalpost, so let's see, where do we want to place this? I think that would fall under miscellaneous. Oh shoot, that's not good. Sometimes these are like broken up into pieces, so I've actually imported it as like this, like with multiple individual pieces. That's not what I wanted to do. I'm just gonna quickly delete this and re-import them. All right, hopefully it's not gonna keep the same settings for that import, and it's gonna prompt me with another import window. And what I want to do is combine, where is it? Combine meshes. All right, so that's better. Let's bring it in. Oh, yeah, one thing that sometimes happens is with some of these meshes, depending on how they were exported from the creator's program, they might be not the right scale or not the right size. So you can see like right now, to get it to a point where it's about where I wanted it to be for scale is like 20 times the size of what I imported. Yeah, so again, just as a placeholder for now, but just wanted to have that in place. There we go. And compared to the player size, I guess maybe it could be a little bit bigger. Since I don't have you know, real world scale of what one of these, um, you know, little mini soccer fields would be like. I'm kind of just eyeballing it for now. Oh, and one thing, it kind of gets imported with nanite enabled, so I need to disable that just because the scale of it would be, or there's some like issues with the mesh. So let's do this one at maybe at 20. Okay, so I feel that compared to the player scale, I think 20 would be a or like not 20, but having this about that size could be in the realistic realm of scale. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I'm gonna try and use some more of these IV meshes alongside the fence so that it breaks up the fence as well. There it is. Can we change this? I know I have like 4 or 5 different ones that I use, but that's K, that's J. Let's see if we can use this one. This one's a little bit bigger, but it covers more, kind of a little bit more space. So there we go. Whoa. All right, and there we go. So that kind of helps with that. Let's do kind of what I had in this corner for Ivy over on the other ones. There we go. I think this one, I'll keep this as is. Um, there's like there's some of this bush back here, some of this ivy on this side. So I think maybe that I'll leave that like that. Okay, well, I mean, the terrain is in place. I'm just gonna resimulate some of these procedural foliage tools here, and um, and I think that should be good. Oh, well, yeah, I forgot to add a few benches. I wanted to add a few benches. So let me do the trees. This usually runs pretty quick, and then the logs. There we go. There we go. All right, so I just wanted, because that one should remove some of those that were kind of growing all over the asphalt. All right, so let's just finish up the flattening around here. This edge seems like it was looking pretty bad. Oh, no, I'm guessing there's like some rocks here. All right, so large rocks, foliage. Let's resimulate this as well. So yeah, I feel like having this almost blended, you know, midway in some areas, between like the dirt and the grass. I think that works pretty well for, kind of a used up, little neighborhood um, soccer field or field of any kind. All right, and I thought oh, there we go. How did this guy end up here? Yo, what's up with you doing over here? That's weird. I don't remember having this one. Oh, I wonder if I had this to spawn on the grass. This might have been an example I wanted to show earlier. Yeah, So I had this that it would be able to also spawn on grass, but um, what I believe, if I remember correctly, this also has a procedural foliage blocking volume. So let's grab one of those and try to ensure that even though we have grass in places around here, we don't want this one to spawn there. I haven't seen a soccer field with one of these big rocks on it, so I'm gonna place that there. And yeah, maybe I'll actually call this soccer field because I think all of these that I just added were placed within the soccer field. So at least I think I did. But I think that should work out. Okay, let's do the rocks. Yeah, and looking at it from this angle, it's kind of cool um, with this kind of um, this blending between like the grass and the dirt mud layer. Come on, you can do it. There it is. Okay. So now there's no more of these rocks spawning on top of on top of the soccer field. All right. Well, yeah. So we have the edging. It kind of looks like it's been almost newly painted in a way. So let me see if I can address this decal a little bit to actually use my own shader. So yeah, it's gonna be looking that well for just a little bit. And we're almost back. We've got that. I won't worry about the normal for it, I think. But let's see if we can add a little bit of wear and tear to these lines. Maybe not necessarily just like that, but maybe that's a little closer. So yeah, there we go. That adds some breakup on those lines, and maybe darken it up a little bit just to make it a little bit faded. Maybe that's a little too much. Okay, there we go. I think that would work. All right, so we got the goalposts. We got that. I was saying to add a few benches here and there, just to complete what would go into one of those soccer fields, in my view. Um, so bench. I think this type of like a metal park looking bench should work. Let's see. So because I don't really want to use, I only have like three maybe that I want to use, but in the whole game. So let's see. This is another option, and this is another option. Though this one is a little too fancy, I would say. That's like a fancy park bench. So let's just go with the one that I'm using in other places as well. I think this could work just fine. So let's add a few. Maybe one of them that's kind of like tipping back and, sunk into the ground a little bit. All right, and we'll place a few on this side as well. This is kind of like the two teams playing, right? So there we go, like that. And let's add a couple of trash bins. Possibly like right by the entrances. And of course, something that you can search through. it's a trash bin without a couple of trash bags around them. So let's just use what we have here. Literally what we've done using some of the stuff that we've done last week. Okay, there you go. And right at the 2 hour mark. I could not have planned this any better. All right, yeah, let's actually wanted to um, so this particular one, let me make this one as a side street, and its linkage is gonna be this guy here. There we go. And add a, not a transformer, but a light. Okay. So there we go, guys. Trying to go into full screen here to make this shown a little bit better. But from like an empty little area in the middle, we got something in a couple of hours. So that was quite happy with that result. Like I said, I'll get this goalpost to use kind of the same uh, material as the, or actually, use the scaling of this to use the same material um, as the fences, just to reduce on that, but and also fix these. I'm not sure exactly why it's not loading the same material because it uses the same material as, you know, this fence, this corner fence. It's the same one. So I'm not entirely sure why the one that's on the procedural spawning tool is not using that material. But yeah, I really like how the breakup of the grass turned out. I guess I could be removing a little bit more of the grass on the side here, like along here, just like that. There we go. Okay, well, I'm not sure how many soccer fans I have watching this, but I used to like soccer. I just don't have the time to watch it anymore. And I felt, this kind of like it's the easiest one that you can put in here. It's pretty international, so I just didn't want to. I wanted to make, and it's also, kind of simple assets as well for the field. So yeah, there you go, guys. Again, appreciate everybody stopping by, watching this. Maybe watching it after the fact. And yeah, so on to next week. I um, um, I hope to. So what I'm hoping to do next week is to fix the start of the game plane sequence and hopefully test that out. So, test out the flight, kind of jumping out of the airplane, interacting with your first NPC um, friend, and yeah, if you remember, like the first mission is to rescue his wife and then you receive that tablet, that device, and then you can, you get your first kind of direction through it, usage of it. So yeah, hopefully we'll look into that next week. And but until then, yeah, have a great week. Have a great rest of your Sunday, and I'll see you on the next one. All right, take care, everybody. Oh yeah, and I might try and do some streams. I keep saying this. I might try to do some streams in the evenings, just you know, for some more level design and kind of in that regards, nothing too focused or on like blueprinting gameplay or anything like that, but just building out the world a little more. So maybe I'll see you in one of those. All right, that was my last thing to say. All right, see you. Bye.